The Legend of Zelda franchise. I'm sure you've heard of it somewhere before. It is easily one of the most legendary and classic video game series of all time, and it's been around since the very beginning. Whether it be the big open worlds, the attention to detail, or just the sheer fun and enjoyability of the gameplay, there is always something positive you can find about its games. But let's get some context real quick. So, there's a reason my channel's name is Nintendo Gamer 65, because believe it or not, I play more than just games from the Super Mario franchise. Kirby Superstar is actually one of my favorite retro games of all time. I have a surprisingly large amount of hours in Star Fox 64, and Animal Crossing New Horizons just might be my favorite casual game ever. But out of all of these, I haven't mentioned one specific series of games that I have almost never actually talked about, but I've played a ton of, and that is for a very good reason. That's right, I'm talking about The Legend of Zelda. From the very original on the NES, to the Minish Cap on the GBA, to more recently Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, I have kind of come to love this game franchise. The world designs, the various characters, the gameplay, it all just hits so well, and that's pretty rare. And even though I didn't really grow up with it, I still have good memories, like turning on the original game for the first time, which in fact was my first time ever playing a game from this series. I also vividly remember picking up Wind Waker HD for the Wii U, and then swiftly giving up after 10 minutes and never playing it again because I was a stupid child and couldn't beat the intro area. And, of course, everyone remembers their first time walking out and seeing the whole Kingdom of Hyrule in the intro of Breath of the Wild. You know, something I've especially appreciated more lately as a game dev is all the little details across the games, like Master Koga. He's a one-use side character for a small portion of Gerudo in Breath of the Wild, yet only in those few minutes of screen time, he managed to seal himself in position of my forever absolute favorite character. I mean, come on, how can you not like this guy? And that's because with what little time they had, they fit in everything they needed to make an understandable and clear character with enough attributes to work just great. This goes to show that you don't need a whole game centered around a character just to make them well fleshed out. And it's not just the little characters, but several other things as well. The fact that they kept calling back to Fi being in the Master Sword after Skyward Sword. Yes, I know she's a character, get over it. Even though they didn't need to is so cool, especially to longtime fans. Or the fact that they kept the entire layout of Hyrule the same between Tears of the Kingdoms and Breath of the Wild, yet still made so many subtle changes throughout the entire map, and added a lot of content in Tears of the Kingdom's version. It's such a cool thing as an OG Breath of the Wild player to be able to go back into the old treasure locations or the secret areas and find brand new stuff. It's it's familiar, yet you're rewarded for finding something new. These things show a clear dedication and passion from the dev team that is very respectful, even though Nintendo has their other flaws. The character development is also pretty amazing to see. My favorite example has to be by far Groose from Skyward Sword. This guy starts off as a total jerk, who is seemingly just in it to make fun of Link and make himself look cool to Zelda sometimes. But by the end of the game, after going through the various trials during it, having to fight with Link, and understanding the courage a true hero needs to prevail, he's humbled and decides he wants to try figuring out how he can make himself useful and use his ability to do something good. But one major key to this is that after all of this development, he's still Groose. He didn't completely change to another person, but he kept that same personality and signature style that he really was, while improving and developing. A big mistake most people make when doing this character development, whether it be in a game or book or movie, like anything that requires writing, is in an attempt to develop that character, the creator ends up completely changing them. Instead of just helping this single character shift and change to become a better or different version, they just throw the whole person out in the process. This is why I really like the character development in the Legend of Zelda franchise so much. And of course, we can't do a video like this without covering the pure quality of design. While most AAA development studios, such as Nintendo, are held to a high standard, Eiji Aonuma, I hope I pronounced that right, and his team really outdo themselves. Many people complained heavily about the several delays Tears of the Kingdom had, but looking back on it, not only do I understand what they did, but I admire the fact that they did that. Many games in the past made by indie devs and big companies alike have had their amazing potential ruined by rushed development in an attempt to appease the masses, and in the process have essentially thrown away what could have been a very good or even perfect game. Some people might say that rushing a game only comes from laziness or bad choices in development, and while this occasionally happens, it's not usually the case. The simple fact is, video game making is highly unpredictable. All the planning in the world can't completely predict a team from running into unforeseen oversights and things just completely out of their control. Whether that be in the design, or a sudden console change, or maybe an issue in the art direction, perhaps a massive issue in the code that came out of nowhere. Even legal issues have been known to get in the way. And trust me, all these things can happen a lot more than you would think. The fact that Eiji has the guts to go out and say that he would have to delay the game because the goal was to deliver the best experience possible is pretty insane. I mean, imagine if you had millions, and I mean millions, of anxious fans waiting for you to finish something for them, but you had to deny it for just a little longer because you knew it would be best for them and the project in the long run. That's a pretty cool thing to do, and I respect it a lot. While I have covered most of the main points I could honestly go on for so much longer rambling about things I love about the Zelda franchise. And I highly recommend you go research it all yourself and play some of the games if you think you're interested. I'm proud to be able to say I'm a fan of this series and Nintendo as a whole, because past their flaws and barriers against people just like me for playing their games not exactly as intended, they're still a great company that constantly strives to make the best games for kids and adults alike, and they've provided some amazing memories, not just for me, but for millions of others across the world. And I think that's a pretty great way to conclude this video. So, until next time, this has been NG65. Bye-bye!